Hello and welcome to the 4th edition of the Clarke Park Show. It is Friday the 10th of January and I'm out a bit later today. You probably may see in the background darkness will set in. We're not far away from sunset today. It's been a very busy day today and a hard day with a lot of pressure and some hard stuff to do to meet a deadline. And yeah, just on that one, it's very hard when you've got to meet a deadline but you're reliant on others to send you the correct information before you provide it, maybe with some adaptation as well, to the people that need to receive it. And I wonder if you can relate to that, and how often are you in those situations of pressurized deadlines but you're reliant on others to help you meet those deadlines. And if you have that on a daily basis, I feel for you, because that can't be good for your health, I don't think. But occasionally, then okay, we just have to grin and bear it. So another thing, just picking up from yesterday, is I was talking about Fitbit stats. And I had this crazy situation of trying to remember all these stats. And my message today is, it's a funny old thing how you can get things muddled up and give it different meaning when you do muddle things up. And there's an irony when I was talking yesterday about context as well, and I got the contexts messed up as well. And a few of them, I remember there was one, I referred to crunches. That's a funny thing. I think I said 6,193 crunches, and I gave it completely the wrong context. And what it actually meant was that it was about my my calories that I burned. And I've even forgotten how many calories I burnt now in total. I know it was a lot. And anyway, the calories I burnt was the equivalent to doing 6,193 crunches, not crunches as I called them. And the other thing about the exercise and the calories, I think I mentioned about the feature films and the calorie burn rate. I think it also equated to, exercise activity, that's right, that the amount of time that I was in exercise activity, which I can't remember the figure, but I know that was the equivalent to watching 67 feature films. Oh, and one other correction I need to make was, when I said I'd walked 1,709 kilometers, and it was actually the equivalent to climbing the Eiffel Tower 3,541 times. I think yesterday I said it was 3,541,000 times. Yeah, now that, I think my correct figure is still good. That's good. But if it was still taking us 3,000 or 3,541,000, that really would be superhuman. And that would be wonderful. But no, just at a good human level is what I aspire to. Not to be superhuman. And another thing, maybe I'm a masochist for this, but partly it's because I'm getting emails all about stats because it's early in January. Another one I received was from Google, and it's Google Maps location data, and it gives you a summary of what you've done or where you've been over the last year and in a lifetime. And so what I saw was that in 2019 I've been to 2 countries. I'd visited 11 cities and 78 places, and I travelled 9,211 miles, which was 37% around the world. All quite fascinating. And then I saw my lifetime data. I don't know, since ever Google's been tracking me on my locations, and it said that I'd been to 11 countries. I've been to, I remember 478 places, and I can't remember the number of cities, but it was in the many tens anyway. Maybe it was something like 70, 80, 90 cities. Again, all fascinating to see, but it does make me wonder about this tracking. So you know about this payoff, because about trading our information and what we do, but having a big global body like Google or Facebook that monitors and tracks everything we do. And I don't mind sharing with you those broad stats, but it also tells you exactly the places where you've been. And yes, personally, I find it fascinating to see the pictures and the memory lane, trip down memory lane, but I do wonder about this and personal privacy and tracking, and who else has access to that information and what we're giving up. And I know there are people who say, well, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. And I don't have anything to hide or anything to fear, but I'm quite a private person. It does concern me about privacy and, you know, how much other people should know. And what I share with you here is I share you general things, but there's still a number of private, personal things that I prefer to keep that way. So there's another topic of discussion and debate for sure. And there's another interesting thing that's just prompted me about Facebook, and another topic I covered before about how many things have you tried and given up, and New Year's resolutions, because I also read today about Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, and what he had been doing each year was setting himself a challenge for every year, and it was just going through all the challenges. I think one of them was to visit every US city and meet people there. I think that was in 2018, and in 2019 it was to get out there and speak with as many people as possible about I think data technology and how we use it. And what came out from that was he'd been criticised because he'd only actually spoken to 9 people in the whole of 2019, and 9 of them were white male. So there was an issue there about diversity and not really doing very much. So what's really interesting is for 2020 he's now given up or setting himself a challenge for the year, and more a very long-term goal. I think he mentions 2030. Well, how many people are going to really track what he says today to 2030? I think that reminds me, I remember when I went many years ago, I think I was only about 21, I went to see a supposed clairvoyant, and I remember her predictions for the future were all telling me what would happen when I was 33, when I was 40, and I remember she was telling me these things that would happen to me, crazy things, and I thought, well, I'm not really going to go back to her, am I, when I'm 40, and said, well, you told me this was going to happen, and it never did. So there's something else very quirky there. And oh yeah, coming back to this thing about Google and Facebook, another thing about what I've been doing today, touched upon something else about GDPR. And although I thought I knew quite a lot about GDPR, what came to my attention today is about protection of data that you send by email, and making sure everything that contains personal information is encrypted or password enabled. And I wonder how many of you out there are fully aware of all of this with GDPR and send out maybe what you think is innocent personal data, but perhaps it should still be password enabled, because you don't know who can hack into that information and to use it. So that was very useful for me, and it all touches upon my earlier theme really about how much we share, how much is public, how much is personal and protected, and we look at what Facebook and Google holds upon us, and then on an everyday level individually we see what's required of us on GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. So I'll leave that with you as my parting thought. I now see I've gone over 10 minutes, so yes, thank you for watching. I say goodbye for now, and who knows what topics will come up in my next video. Thanks very much. Toodaloo, as I like to say, toodaloo.